Hello again, my lovelies. Pirate Scum Gaming here. And tonight we're going to talk about my beam overload build for my Manticore Heavy Destroyer. The Manticore Heavy Destroyer is a veteran ship. You get it when you buy the lifetime sub. Every faction gets one. The KDF has its own, the Romulans have their own, and the Jem'Hadar have their own. But in my opinion, the Federation one looks the best. This is a really cool ship. It's very powerful. And the unique thing about the veteran ships is it has its own very unique warp out animation. When you warp out, for the Fed ship, the warp nacelles fold up and stretch out. It's really kind of cool. Let's go ahead and do a quick walk around to this. Like I said, this is a very beautiful ship. However, that being said, it could use some love. The veteran ships haven't really been updated since they were brought out. And they really do need access to the brand new hull materials and maybe also some of the legendary hull materials to make them look even more pretty. I mean, they look pretty enough as it is, but you give them access to the new hull materials, they're going to look even more pretty. So let's go ahead and jump right into this build. You should pretty much recognize this build as the same beam overload build I generally run with a few minor modifications. In the 4 weapons, we have the Terran Task Force Phaser Dual Heavy Cannons from the Terran reputation. No surprise that we're using this. It has its execute ability. Damage dealt increases as target's hull decreases up to 200% damage at 25% hull. Now, I've tried using the beam array, but I think the cannons outperform the beam array by just a hair. So that's where I use them. Because I'm using scatter volley to proc preferential targeting, and thus these get buffed from scatter volley. And these are heavy hitting. Much can be said likewise about the Phaser Wide Angle Dual Heavy Beam Bank. This comes from a Discovery reputation. This is also a very heavy hitting weapon, and the longer it's firing, the more damage it does. It is also part of a 2-piece set, which I'll be talking about here momentarily. And next up, we have a couple of Agony Phaser Dual Beam Banks. I happen to use these because I happen to like them, but you don't have to use the Agony. You can use whatever flavor phaser you want. Standard, pulsed phaser, covert, 32nd century. Hey, whatever tickles your fancy, go ahead and use. There's no right answer here. For Space Core, we are using the Elite Fleet Intervention Protomatter Deflector from your Colony reputation. No, not Colony reputation. Your Colony Holding. We're using this because of the Coal Crit mod. That gives you bonus crit severity and crit chance. Next is the Prevailing Innervated Impulse Engine. This comes from your competitive reputation. This works off of tactical firing modes. When you activate a tactical firing mode, you get a boost to flight speed and flight turn rate. The Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core. This comes from your Spire holding, same place you get your locators. And the reason we are using this because of the 66% power transfer rate buff and the minus 10% weapon power cost. Next is the Tilly's Review Pending Modified Shield. This is also from the Discovery reputation, and we are using this because of the bonus damage to your opponent's shields. Next up is the Trilithium Enhanced Omnidirectional Beam Array. This comes from the Beyond the Nexus mission. This is a free mission drop. This is an excellent phaser Omni. I highly recommend you use it. It has a 2.5% chance to boost firing cycle haste for 15 seconds. And as we all know about beam overload by now, when you activate beam overload, it slows down your firing cycle haste. So you need to bring it back up to speed. This helps. Next, Omnidirectional Agony Phaser. Again, you can use whatever phaser flavor you happen to like. I happen to like using the Agony. That's personal preference. Like I said, use whatever you like. There's no right answer. And last but not least, the kinetic cutting beam. We're using the Omega Adapted Board Technology 2-piece, which gives you a minus 500% weapon power cost. I'm still trying to figure that one out, folks. I still don't understand how you get 500% when you can only actually have 100% of something. But, it is what it is. For the experimental weapon, I'm using the Soliton Wave Impeller. This comes off of the Ryzian Corvette. This is currently best in slot. However, you can use whatever experimental weapon tickles your fancy. But if you do have this one, I highly recommend using it. Devices are all pretty same. You have your energy amplifier for bonus energy weapon damage. Reactive armor catalyst is no crap button to help heal your hull and get the Borg plasma fire off of you. Deuterium surplus. This is evasive in a can, or as I like to call it, go-go juice. This gives you a moderate speed boost and helps you get around the map faster. And last but not least, we have the Kobayashi Maru transponder. This was an event reward, and it gives off random buffs. Universal console. I am using Lorca's custom fire control, also known as the Lorcator. This is part of the Lorca's Ambition 2-piece. Lorca's Ambition set. It is the 2-piece. You've seen me talk about this before. The console itself gives you a nice chunk of crit chance, some weapon power setting, and a huge chunk of Starship shield pen. And the 2-piece set, the War Discretion. On crit, plus 1% crit severity buff for 20 seconds, stacks up to 25 times. That is a very large crit severity buff. So I highly recommend using the 2-piece. Okay. Remaining consoles, we have the Tachyon Net Drones, also known as the D-20 of Doom. This comes off of the Bozeman Intel Frigate. This is a very nice thing. It helps knock enemy shields offline and deals a nice bit of damage. Experimental Power Redirection. This is from the Excelsior 2. This is fast becoming my new favorite console. It just eats alive anything it hits. It's very powerful, and I absolutely love it. Next is the Universal Console Immolating Phaser Lance. This comes off of the Demos Pal Escort. This is now available in the Mud store, so I highly recommend you getting it if you have the means to do so. This is just a big red beam of murder, death, kill. And again, like this console, this just eats anything in front of it alive. I absolutely love this console. Domino from the Bajoran Interceptor. The Bajoran Interceptor was the anniversary ship some time ago. It is available in the Phoenix store for an epic prize token. So if you have an epic prize token laying around and you don't have this ship and you want this console, that's how you get it. It adds 25% firing cycle haste, 25% bonus all damage, 25% recharge speed for bridge officer abilities, and 100% recharge speed for torpedo weapons. That does not apply for this particular build, but if you're running a build with torpedoes, that's very nice to have. And here we have the Enhanced Dynamic Tactical System. This is the console from this ship. Now you get a couple of things from this. I mean, you get a minor boost to max hull capacity, a pretty sizable chunk of crit severity, but we are using it for the active abilities. Now, when you are in passive mode, which this ship currently is in, you will get access to the Tachyon Inversion Beams. What it does, it strips enemy shields and gives them to you. However, for the purposes of this build, we are using the ship's tactical mode, which will give us access to the Phaser Lotus. Deals a moderate amount of phaser damage, and it hits relatively hard. I will show that off momentarily. Next is the Bioneuron Fusion Circuits. This is a Lobi item. This is one of the oldest Lobi consoles in the game. It gives off a sizable chunk of crit severity, some hull capacity, as well as control expertise. For tactical consoles, I am using 4 of the locators from the Fleet Spire. And I also have down here the assimilated module from the Omega Rep, so I get access to the Omega Adapted Borg Technology 2-piece. How about that console? Before I get on to the rest of the build, let's take a look at what this console does. Here is the toggle for the tactical mode. So let's watch what this does. This is cool. What happens is your ship opens up into tactical mode. This enables you to use the Phaser Lotus. Pretty cool. I actually like this. I like the way the ship opens up into combat mode. So let's go ahead and close that up and continue on with the build review. Skill tree has not changed. Same skill tree I have been running. So if you'd like to take a snapshot of this, go ahead. This is a skill tree that Augmented Dictator Games set up some time ago, and it is still extremely powerful. Specializations also have not changed. Still using Intel Primary, Temporal Operative Secondary, Intel for the bonus flanking damage, and Temporal Operative for access to Entropic Rider. Okay, traits. We have a good day to die. This turns go down fighting into a reusable buff. If you're a tactical captain and you don't have this, you are doing it wrong. You need to get this. It's really not that expensive, and it's available from the Infinity Box. Intelligence Agent Attaché. This is also in the Infinity Box. On Weapon Critical Strike, and you will be doing that, restore 2% of Captain Ability Recharge. I'm using Innocuous to keep threat off of me, and it gives me some bonus, crit severity, 5%. Superior Beam Training, that's pretty self-explanatory. Terran Targeting Systems, 15% crit severity. Unconventional Systems, also known as free DPS. Using a Control Bridge Officer ability gives you minus 7% recharge to Universal Consoles. I do have several control abilities, and that's what makes this work. Next, Fragment of AI Tech. Control Expertise plus Energy Weapon Damage. I am getting 23.3% Energy Weapon Damage buff based on Control Expertise. Next up, Adaptive Offense. Crit chance becomes crit severity. Self-modulating fire. On outgoing critical hits, your energy weapons and projectiles gain 50% shield pen. And last but not least, we have Boimler Effect for our primary means of cooldown. Starship traits, we have Best Hope of the Empire. This comes off of the Legendary Galaxy Dreadnought, or the Legendary Gal X. 10% bonus all damage and plus 50,000 temporary hit points on use of Beam Overload. Next is Heart of Soul. This comes from the Temporal Warship. Attack Pattern Beta or any Temporal Operative buff ability, 10% firing cycle haste, as well as bonus phaser damage. Next is Emergency Weapon Cycle from the Kurak, the Morgu, or the Arbiter. On use of emergency powered weapons, minus 50% weapon power cost for 30 seconds, and 20% firing cycle haste. Next, Preferential Targeting. This comes from the Legendary Columbia or the NX Refit from the Lobby store. After using Beam Fire at Will or Cannon Scatter Volley, plus 100% damage to Beam Overload. Next, Super Weapon Ingenuity. This is our Beam Overload Extension trait. This comes off of the Adaleth Dreadnought. This is a Lobby ship, or you can buy it on the exchange. And last but not least, we have Universal Designs. This comes off of the Cross-Field refit. When activating a Universal Console, plus 2% crit chance and 10% crit severity. And by using the Immolating Phaser Lance, which keeps regenerating and recharging, you can keep Universal Designs up the entire time you are in combat. That is really nice. Space Rep, same thing as I've been running. Magnified Firepower from the Gamma Rep. Advanced Targeting Systems from the Dyson Rep. Controlled Countermeasures from the Temporal Rep. Tyler's Duality from the Discovery Rep. And Precision from New Romulus Rep. Okay, Bridge Officer Stations. First we have Very Cold in Space. I'm using this as a debuff. Next, Scramble Sensors and Gravity Well. These are unconventional system procs. Chemosite Lace Weaponry, because, you know, who doesn't love radiation explosions? I love radiation explosions. They're the best. Next, Distributed Targeting. Get my Beam Overload attacks bouncing around. Cannon Scatter Volley to trigger preferential targeting. Beam Overload in the main event. And Attack Pattern Beta. This is your Temporal Warship trait trigger. And it's also a great debuff. Next, Emergency Powered Weapons to trigger Emergency Weapon Cycle. Emit Unstable Warp Bubble. This is an unconventional systems proc. And Overwhelm Emitters as a means to strip shields. And last but not least, we have Jam Targeting Sensors and Tractor Beam 2. These are both unconventional system procs. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unconventional system procs for this build. That's pretty much where you want it. You can get away with you can get away with 4, but you will struggle a bit. So I'd say about 5 or 6 is what you're really aiming for. All right, let's go ahead and look at some duty officers. First up, I have my Energy Weapon Officer, which gives Beam Overload attacks a chance to gain 35% shield pen. I have another Energy Weapon Officer. Chance for stacking crit chance buff on firing energy weapons. Now, I'm using the Liberated Borg Duty Officers because I have access to them. Now, if you do not have access to them, it's not the end of the world. You can use other Energy Weapon Officers, or if you have one that for a chance for an Aftershock Gravity Well, hey, go ahead and use it. Use whatever works for you. Yeah, just as long as you're having fun. If you're not having fun and it's beginning to be a chore, you're doing it wrong. At the end of the day, the object is to have fun destroying enemy pixels. So first I have 23 of 47. On use of tactical abilities, 15% chance, improved team-wide maximum hull by 10%. And on use of command abilities, 30% chance to improve crit chance by 2.5%. Yay! This person won an Infinity Prize ship. Yay! Quit doing that while I'm trying to do this. Alright, 24 of 47 on tactical abilities, 15% chance, set power levels to maximum. This happens to proc quite a bit, I've noticed. As we're not using any Miracle Worker abilities, this does not come into play. We have 33 of 37. 33 of 47, rather. 15% chance, reduce Command Bridge Officer ability cooldowns by 50%. And on use of command abilities, 30% chance, reduce Engineering Bridge Officer abilities. And last but not least, we have 38 of 47. 15% chance to reduce Command Bridge Officer ability cooldown by 50%, and vice versa for Command. Now these two guys, they're important. These are the two guys I have stationed on either side of Boimler. Because we all know Boimler likes to daydream and slack off. So when he starts doing that, these two guys are going to walk up behind him, slap him upside the back of the head, and tell him to pay attention. These are my Boimler backups in case Boimler misfires. These will take care of cooldowns. Alright, with that being said, let's gear up for the Elite Patrol that I did. And afterwards, we'll have some final thoughts about the entire build. So I will catch you on the flip side. And we're back. That was a very good run. Those Kazon really never knew it hit them. So as you saw, this build is more than capable of handling endgame content. It can more than handle advanced content. It can handle elite content, as you just saw. I am overwhelmingly happy with this. I enjoy flying this ship. This is even for an older ship, this ship can still deal the damage. And I'd like to give a special shout out at this point. As you can see, the name of my ship is USS Legacy of Odin. Now the reason it's called the Legacy of Odin is because there was a player some time ago, he doesn't play anymore, unfortunately, named Odin Knight. Odin Knight was the torpedo OG master. And he flew the Manticore religiously. Odin taught me most of everything I know about torpedoes. Augie taught me a lot. Odin's really the one that got me interested in torpedoes. And Odin used to run a YouTube series called The Show, where they talked about builds and other such things, and that's where I got a lot of my information from. So Odin, if you're out there and if you're watching, I miss you, and I hope you and your family are doing well. So that being said, if you guys do have, if you are any lifetime players, have access to this ship, I recommend breaking it out and just having a lot of fun with it. I mean, as you saw, this ship, like I said, this ship can handle end-game content and elite content very handily. You know, you saw it decimated that patrol. So I highly recommend this ship. If you have it, it is a great fun ship. And you know, if you guys do have this ship and you do fly it, please come, let me know in the comments section. I'd like to hear from you. I like to have discussions with my viewers. So please let me know your experience with the ship. Do you fly it as a torque boat? Do you fly it as an energy boat? Do you even fly it as a cannon boat? I'd like to hear from you. So yeah, I give this ship two pirate thumbs up. I absolutely love it. And with that being said, as always, this has been Pirate Scum Gaming. And remember, don't go by the book, think like a pirate, and I'll catch you next time.
Human! Play, Dumjut! Human!